Jay says, hey guys, I just want to start by saying I love the podcast and I love what you guys are doing. You guys have helped me out personally a lot and I just want to thank you all for that. But I do still need some help. My current situation is I'm 22 years old, I'm in school, and I have a full-time job with enough to invest at the moment, and I have no high consumer debt. My car is completely paid off. However, I do live with my parents, so I don't own a home or have any high crazy rent. Now, I'm currently paying for my tuition out of pocket because I can afford it, and I'm currently enrolled in a local community college, but I intend to get my associates and then take that degree and enroll in a proper university so I can get my bachelor's. My question is, do you guys think that I should continue to try and pay for my tuition out of pocket, or do I take on student loans when I get to university? The idea of going into that much debt is a really scary thing to me, and I could use some wisdom on the subject. Robert, do you want to kick this one off first?
Yeah, this is a tough one because you can go all over the place with this scenario. So let's start with college tuition. I would first do as much research as you can to find out what is the interest rate going to be. What is it going to cost you to have these student loans? If you can find a situation where maybe the student loan interest rate is 5.5% or lower, I would say get the student loans. But also before you do any of that, make sure you fully flush out what are you going to school for? Because I believe we're in a place now where unless you have a specified, really highly skilled degree that you're going to go after, I don't know that it makes sense to go that much in debt for a college degree if it's just going to be generalized. So those are the two things where I would start, because you also have to look at the future of the workforce. Is this degree that you're going to get in 5 years from now, 4 years from now, or even 2 years from now with that associate's degree, you have to make sure that this role, this position, this career is even going to exist and be paying you enough to go through school for it. So make sure you guys all flush that out, because right now so many different career paths are going to change dramatically because of AI and humanoid robotics in the next 4 or 5 years. I love where you're at and I love where your head's at on this subject, but there's just so much going on. And I want to make sure you fully think ahead, not just what's happening today, but what it's going to look like for you in 4 or 5 years.
I think that's a really great answer to this question, Robert. I really want to give Jay some props here, though, because he's doing the exact playbook that I would encourage almost anyone, if they could figure it out themselves, to do, which is go to a community college, a junior college, some sort of cheaper education institution like that, get the associate's degree, and then take that associate's degree and all the credits that you've earned and go transfer to a proper university. So when you graduate with your bachelor's, it now says from the University of Tennessee, for example, right? So there was Pellissippi Community College in Knoxville. A lot of people would go to that community college for 2 years, get their associates, pay a couple $1,000s a year in tuition, and then they'd transfer to the University of Tennessee, take all those credits with them, get their bachelor's, and when they graduated, it said from the University of Tennessee, despite the first 2 years being at Pellissippi. So I love the way you're doing this, Jay. If I were in your shoes, I would do exactly what Robert just said. I'd make sure that whatever I was studying, if it was finance or accounting or nursing or engineering, like you are studying something that has a clear path to earning $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a year entry level out of college, like right off the rip. So for me, for example, I studied finance. I got my degree in finance and economics. I did mergers and acquisitions when I graduated, and I was making $65,000 a year back in 2018. I was having a blast. It was a perfect segue. I was able to pay off my student loans, right? I was able to do everything because I had a clear amount of money that I knew I was going to make ballpark that would supplement my life and allow me to pay this debt off. People sometimes make the mistake of getting a more generalized degree, if it's psychology or communications or something like that, and then they try and go find a job, and either they, one, can't find one, or two, are forced to take a job that pays much less, perhaps 30, 40, or 50,000. Now they've got the 40, 50, 60,000 of student loans, and it's a really tough situation to be in. So Jay, here's what I would do. I'd continue to make sure that whatever you are studying and whatever you're trying to graduate with has a career trajectory ahead of you. I'd also make sure that in total, when you are at this university, which I don't think you will, but make sure you do not borrow more than the first year's salary of this potential role. So let's say you're going to earn $70,000 at this job. Make sure you do not borrow more than $60,000, $70-ish thousand because affording that monthly payment now becomes a lot harder. And then the last thing is I would try and just kind of keep tuition paying out of pocket if you could. You're living at home, you're making some money with a full-time job. If there's a world where you can graduate with no student loan debt and you're now making $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a year without a payment in the world because you don't have any credit card debt or high interest debt, you now have a really cool situation where you can invest $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 a year at the age of 24, 25, 26, and you've built your base very quickly. By the age of 30, you've got hundreds of thousands of dollars invested versus just tens of thousands like the average person. You are setting yourself up for an awesome situation. So you really can't go wrong either way. There's just specific considerations to take into account depending on what situation you want to pursue.